Babylon was one of the wealthiest cities of the ancient world. Its walls were massive, its temples were magnificent, and its merchants traded goods across distant lands. Yet the land around it was dry and difficult. The city had no forests, mines, or natural advantages that guaranteed prosperity. Its wealth was created by people who learned how to manage resources, build businesses, and make money work for them. George S. Clason uses this ancient setting to tell a series of simple financial parables. The characters may live in a world of camels, clay tablets, and gold coins, but the principles behind their success remain familiar. Earn more than you spend. Save part of every payment you receive. Protect your money from unnecessary risk. Invest only in things you understand. Prepare for the future and continue increasing your ability to earn. The book begins with two friends named Bansir and Cobby. Bansir is a skilled chariot builder. Cobby is a musician. Both work hard, yet neither has accumulated wealth. They earn money, spend it, and return to the same difficult position. One day, they look at the prosperity around them and ask an uncomfortable question. Why do some people become wealthy while others remain poor, even when both groups work hard? Their question leads them to Arkad, known as the richest man in Babylon. Arkad did not inherit his fortune. He began as a poor scribe and slowly learned the rules of money through experience, mistakes, and discipline. His lessons form the heart of the book. Wealth, Clason argues, is not created by luck alone, nor by income alone. It is created by habits. Blink 1. Pay yourself before paying everyone else. When Arkad was young, he worked long hours as a scribe, carving records into clay tablets. He wanted wealth, but his wages disappeared as quickly as he received them. Food, clothing, and other expenses consumed everything. Then Arkad met a wealthy moneylender named Algamish. Algamish gave him one principle that changed his life. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. The idea sounds obvious, but most people behave in the opposite way. They receive income and immediately begin paying everyone else. They pay merchants, landlords, lenders, shops, and service providers. Whatever remains afterward is considered savings. Usually, very little remains. Algamish told Arkad to reverse the order. Before paying anyone else, he should keep at least 1/10 of everything he earned. If Arkad received 10 coins, 1 coin belonged to his future self. The remaining 9 could be used for living expenses. At first, saving 1/10 did not seem powerful. The amount was small and Arkad still felt poor. But the importance of the habit was greater than the size of the first savings. By paying himself first, Arkad began separating part of his labor from immediate consumption. Every coin saved became a worker that could eventually earn more coins. The principle also forced him to confront an uncomfortable reality. He had always believed that all his spending was necessary. But once he committed to saving first, he discovered that he could still survive on the remaining income. This is one of the book's most important lessons. People often assume they will begin saving after their income rises, but expenses usually rise with income. A larger salary leads to a larger home, more expensive possessions, and higher expectations. Unless saving becomes a habit, additional income may produce no additional wealth. Paying yourself first makes saving automatic rather than optional. It creates the foundation upon which every other financial principle depends. Without savings, there is nothing to invest. Without investment, money cannot multiply. And without accumulated capital, financial independence remains impossible. Arkad's first lesson was not about becoming rich quickly. It was about gaining control over the first portion of every payment he received. Blink 2. Control your expenses before they control you. Saving 1/10 of income creates an immediate challenge. How can a person live on the remaining 9/10 when the entire income already feels necessary? Clason distinguishes between needs and desires. People often describe all their spending as necessary, but many expenses expand because of habit, comfort, or social pressure. As income rises, desires grow faster than the ability to satisfy them. A person may believe that a larger house is necessary because friends own one. More expensive clothing begins to feel essential. Meals, travel, and entertainment gradually become part of the expected lifestyle. The problem is not enjoyment itself. The problem is allowing every desire to become an obligation. Arkad teaches that expenses should be planned in advance. The first step is to list everything you spend money on. Then separate the truly important costs from the desires that can be reduced or delayed. The goal is not to remove every pleasure. A financial plan that makes life miserable will be difficult to continue. Instead, the goal is to choose expenses deliberately so that life remains enjoyable while savings continue to grow. This requires understanding that income is limited, but desires are not. If every desire is treated as equally important, no income will ever feel sufficient. The discipline of budgeting creates a boundary. It says that some money belongs to today's lifestyle, while another part belongs to future security. This principle applies equally to people with high and low incomes. A high earner who spends everything remains financially vulnerable. A moderate earner who consistently lives below income can gradually build wealth. The difference is not only how much comes in, it is how much remains. Clason's message is simple. Do not confuse a high standard of living with wealth. A person may appear prosperous while carrying heavy debt and having no savings. True financial strength comes from the gap between income and expenses. The wider that gap becomes, the more money can be invested. But saving coins is only the beginning. Money kept idle does not create much progress. The next step is to make those savings productive. Blink 3. Make your money work and produce more money. Algamish told Arkad that saved money should not remain inactive. Gold should earn more gold. This is the principle of investment and compound growth. Arkad learned this lesson through a mistake. After saving his first group of coins, he gave them to a brickmaker who planned to travel abroad and buy valuable jewels. The investment failed because the brickmaker knew bricks, not jewels. He purchased worthless stones, and Arkad lost his savings. Algamish explained that seeking advice from the wrong person is expensive. If Arkad wanted knowledge about jewels, he should have consulted a jewel merchant, not a brickmaker. The failure taught Arkad 2 lessons. First, savings should be invested so that they multiply. Second, money should be placed only in opportunities that have been evaluated by people with real knowledge. Arkad began saving again. This time, he invested with a shield maker who used the money to purchase metal. The shield maker sold his products and shared the profit with Arkad. Now Arkad's coins were producing additional coins. But he made another mistake. Instead of reinvesting the profit, he spent it on fine clothing and a feast. Algamish reminded him that he had consumed the children of his gold. The original savings had produced earnings, but those earnings could have been invested to produce even more. This is the power of compounding. A person saves money. The savings generate a return. The return is added to the original capital, and the larger amount generates a greater return in the future. At first, the progress seems slow, but over time, money begins doing more of the work. Clason compares invested coins to workers. Each coin should produce more workers, and those new workers should produce others. This principle explains why time matters so much. The earlier the habit begins, the longer the money has to multiply. It also explains why frequently withdrawing investment gains slows the process. Spending every profit may provide temporary pleasure, but it prevents the financial base from growing. Wealth is created not simply by earning money, but by keeping part of it, investing it wisely and reinvesting the returns. However, the desire for growth can make people vulnerable to promises of fast riches. Money must be productive, but it must also be protected. Blink 4. Protect your capital from avoidable loss. People who have worked hard to save money naturally want it to grow. That desire can become dangerous. The promise of a high return often causes people to ignore the possibility of losing the original amount. Clason repeatedly emphasizes that the first rule of investment is protecting the principal. Before asking how much an investment might earn, ask whether the original money is reasonably safe. Can the borrower repay? Does the investment rest on real experience and knowledge? Is the promised return realistic? Can the money be recovered when needed? These questions appear in the story of Roden, a spear maker who receives 50 pieces of gold from the king as a reward for designing a superior weapon. Roden has never possessed so much money and becomes uncertain about what to do. His sister asks him to lend the gold to her husband, who wants to become a merchant. Roden visits Mathon, a respected gold lender, for advice. Mathon explains that lending money based only on affection can be dangerous. A good intention does not guarantee repayment. Before lending, Roden must examine the borrower's experience, plan and ability to recover from failure. His sister's husband may be honest and ambitious, but he has little experience as a merchant. Lending the entire fortune would place Roden's savings at risk for a plan the borrower has not yet proven he can execute. Mathon keeps a box containing objects connected to loans he has made. Each item represents a different borrower and a different lesson. Some borrowers have property or reliable income that protects the lender. Others have enthusiasm but no practical plan. The stories show that character matters, but ability matters as well. A person may sincerely intend to repay and still fail because the venture was poorly designed. Clason is not arguing that no one should ever take risk. Investment always involves uncertainty, but risk should be understood and controlled. Diversifying money, working with experienced people, and avoiding opportunities that promise unrealistic gains can protect the financial foundation. Once capital is lost, the process of building wealth must begin again. That is why the safety of principle comes before the excitement of profit. Blink 5. Seek guidance from people who understand the subject. The book repeatedly warns against taking financial advice from people who lack relevant knowledge. Arcad lost his first savings because he trusted a brickmaker to purchase jewels. The brickmaker may have been intelligent and honest, but he did not understand the jewel business. This principle remains important because advice is everywhere. Friends, relatives, and strangers often speak confidently about investments, businesses, and ways to become rich. But confidence is not the same as competence. Before accepting advice, ask whether the person has experience in the exact area being discussed. A successful business owner may know little about real estate. A skilled professional may know little about investing. Someone who recently made money from a risky trade may have been lucky rather than knowledgeable. Clason recommends learning from people who have already demonstrated the ability to protect and grow money. This does not mean following them blindly. The investor remains responsible for the final decision, but informed guidance can reveal risks and opportunities that an inexperienced person may overlook. Advice is especially useful when it prevents a major mistake. A small payment for expert knowledge can save an entire fortune. The value of financial wisdom, therefore, depends not only on what is learned, but on when it is learned. Learning after losing all your money is far more expensive than learning before making the investment. The people around us also influence how we think about wealth. Someone surrounded by constant spending may begin treating consumption as normal. Someone surrounded by disciplined savers and experienced business people may develop different standards. This is why the choice of advisors and associates matters. Wealth grows more safely when decisions are supported by knowledge, experience, and careful questioning. But investment is only one part of financial security. A person must also prepare for the years when income may decline. Blink 6. Prepare today for the needs of tomorrow. Youth and good health can create the illusion that income will continue forever. But time changes every worker. Strength declines, careers end, families face emergencies, illness and unexpected events can reduce earning power. Clason advises preparing for these realities before they arrive. A person should build assets that can provide income in later years. Savings, investments, property, and reliable businesses can continue supporting the owner after active work becomes difficult. The book also emphasizes protecting the family. If a person dies or becomes unable to work, dependents should not be left without support. In modern terms, this principle includes retirement planning, insurance, emergency savings, and long-term investments. The specific tools have changed since ancient Babylon, but the purpose remains the same. Today's income should help finance tomorrow's needs. Clason also discusses the importance of owning a home. In Babylon, a family that owned its house could enjoy greater stability and potentially reduce long-term living costs. The broader lesson is that major assets should improve security rather than merely display status. A home can provide stability, but it should be affordable. An expensive house financed with excessive debt can create the opposite result. Preparation for the future does not mean living in fear. It means recognizing that predictable challenges should not be treated as surprises. Old age is not unexpected. Periods without income are possible. Homes need repairs. Families face emergencies. A person who prepares gradually can handle these events without destroying years of progress. A person who ignores them may be forced to borrow or sell assets at the worst possible moment. Financial security grows when the future is included in today's decisions. Still, saving and investing alone may not be enough to reach larger goals. The most valuable financial asset may be the ability to earn more. Blink 7. Increase your ability to earn. Arkad's final cure for an empty purse is to increase earning power. This does not mean working endlessly without direction. It means becoming more valuable. A person can increase earning ability by improving skills, gaining knowledge, building a reputation, and performing work more effectively. The market rewards people who solve useful problems. A craftsperson who produces higher quality work can charge more. A merchant who understands customers can sell more effectively. A professional who gains specialized knowledge can become more valuable to employers or clients. Clason argues that small, definite goals can gradually lead to larger achievements. A person who immediately demands an unrealistic fortune may become discouraged. A person who first aims to earn a modest additional amount can develop confidence and skill. Once the first target is reached, a larger target becomes possible. The desire to improve must be supported by action. Reading, training, practice, and seeking better opportunities all increase the chance of higher income. Reputation also matters. A person known for reliability, skill, and honesty attracts more opportunities than someone who repeatedly fails to keep promises. The book connects financial progress with personal development. Wealth is not only something accumulated outside the individual, it is partly produced by character. Discipline helps a person save. Patience allows investments to grow. Good judgment protects capital. Curiosity increases knowledge. Reliability strengthens business relationships. This is why the ability to earn is one of the safest assets a person can build. Investments can fail, markets can fall, property can lose value, but useful skills can help someone recover. Clason's principle also challenges the idea that the only solution to financial problems is reducing expenses. Controlling spending matters, but there is a limit to how much can be cut. Income has more room to grow. A strong financial strategy therefore works in both directions. Reduce unnecessary expenses while increasing the value you can provide. Blink 8. Opportunity favors people who act decisively. The book asks whether good luck is something people receive randomly or something they help create through action. In Babylon, a group of men discusses the goddess of good luck. They notice that opportunities often appear, but people fail to use them. Someone delays purchasing valuable land. Another hesitates before entering a promising business. A third allows fear or indecision to destroy an opportunity. Later, they describe themselves as unlucky. Clason argues that procrastination is one of the greatest enemies of financial progress. Opportunity rarely waits until every uncertainty disappears. A person may need to act before feeling completely prepared. This does not mean making careless decisions. The earlier lessons still apply. Understand the risk, seek knowledgeable advice, and protect the principle. But endless delay can be as damaging as reckless speed. People often postpone saving until next month, investing until the market looks safer, or learning until life becomes less busy. The perfect moment never arrives. The habit of action is built through small decisions. Save the first portion of income now. Begin learning the skill now. Make the plan now. When a well-understood opportunity appears, act before fear creates endless excuses. This is closely connected to the 5 laws of gold presented in another parable. Gold comes willingly to the person who saves at least 1/10 of income. It works diligently for the wise owner who invests it productively. It remains with the person who seeks advice from knowledgeable people. It disappears from the person who invests in areas he does not understand, and it flees from the person who expects impossible returns or follows dishonest schemes. These laws show that good fortune is rarely separate from behavior. What looks like luck is often the result of preparation, knowledge, and timely action. Blink 9. Financial freedom is built through discipline, not miracles. The book's final stories reinforce the same central lesson from different angles. In The Camel Trader of Babylon, a man named Dabasir falls deeply into debt. He once lived beyond his means, borrowed from friends, and eventually ran away from his obligations. His life became increasingly desperate until he was sold into slavery. Through the help of a woman named Sira, he was forced to confront whether he had the soul of a free man or the soul of a slave. A free man, she told him, faces his responsibilities. A slave runs from them. Dabasir escaped and returned to Babylon, determined to repay every person he owed. He created a plan. 10% of his income would be saved. 70% would support his living expenses. 20% would be divided among his creditors. At first, some creditors were unhappy because the payments were small, but Dabasir continued consistently. Month after month, his debts declined, his savings grew, and his self-respect returned. The story shows that financial recovery begins with honesty. Debt becomes more dangerous when people refuse to examine it. A clear plan may not remove the problem immediately, but it turns confusion into progress. Another story describes Sharunada, a wealthy merchant traveling with a young man named Hadan Gula. Hadan believes his grandfather became wealthy through luck. Sharunada reveals that both men were once slaves. Hadan's grandfather escaped poverty through hard work, courage, and discipline. The lesson is that work is not an enemy. Work can be a source of dignity and opportunity when it is connected to purpose. Across all the parables, Clason rejects the idea that wealth arrives through a secret shortcut. The rules are simple, but following them requires consistency. Keep part of everything you earn. Control expenses. Invest savings so they multiply. Protect money from losses you do not understand. Prepare for the future. Improve your ability to earn. Repay obligations honestly. And act when a sound opportunity appears. These principles do not promise instant wealth. They promise gradual control. That control grows each time a person chooses long-term security over immediate consumption. Bansir and Kobe began the book feeling trapped because their labor produced no lasting result. Arkad became wealthy because he learned to preserve part of his work and place it into productive assets. The difference was not that Arkad worked while others did nothing. Many poor people in Babylon worked extremely hard. The difference was that Arkad developed a system. His income supported his present life, but part of it also built his future. That is the meaning of financial independence in The Richest Man in Babylon. Money should not disappear as quickly as it arrives. Some of it should remain, multiply, and gradually reduce your dependence on future labor. Key takeaways from the book. The Richest Man in Babylon teaches that wealth begins by saving at least 1/10 of everything you earn. Expenses should be controlled so that saving becomes consistent, while accumulated money should be invested carefully and allowed to compound. Capital must be protected by avoiding investments you do not understand and seeking advice from people with genuine experience. Financial security also requires preparing for retirement, emergencies, and family needs. The book's central lesson is that wealth is built through simple habits practiced over time. Save first, spend deliberately, invest wisely, increase your earning ability, and avoid expecting quick riches without effort or knowledge.